Hey guys, about 4 months ago or so, I decided to make a video that highlighted the best classes in the current meta for all of the WoW PvP classes for Arena, 3v3 specifically. I thought it'd be cool to revisit that type of video. You guys seem to really enjoy it, and I liked making it, so leave a comment down below if you do want me to continue this series on a month-to-month basis. But I thought it'd be cool to highlight my top 3 damage classes for WoW PvP Arena, like what I'm seeing is making, getting the most success, I suppose, at the higher ratings. And then also my top healer class for what I feel like is the strongest, most versatile healer in the entire meta. So with that all being said, I'm pretty much just going to jump into this. For context's sake, I am actually currently 2,300. I was 2,350 not too long ago. I'm going to have played about 100 games this week. That's decently high rating right now, based on the inflation, but not super high. I'm just like in that gladiator range terms of rating. We fight fearless gladiators and gladiators all the time. So I'm pretty in tune with like what higher rated players are doing right now. And to speak to all of that, I do want to talk about the Arms Warrior. So Arms Warrior is my first class I'm going to pick for the strongest in the meta right now because they're able to do a huge amount of burst damage and also on a short basis. So what I mean by that is that they have short damage cooldowns, with Sharpened Blade only being, I think, 45 seconds, or it might be a minute, but I think it's 45 seconds. And their Battle Cry is also a pretty low cooldown as well. That's only a minute cooldown. It seems like they're able to get such a huge amount of burst damage and do so much pressure because of that Sharpened Blade is just a huge healing reduction, that they're able to really like kill a target on their own. And I've actually been soloed by a couple warriors over the last few weeks because of just how much damage they do. Like they just do a crazy amount, and it's hard to predict when that's happening because it seems so random at times and it seems so consistent that any time I feel like a warrior just is able to put down a target, and they don't have to have like this big damage cooldown like Icy Veins or Metamorphosis or Incarnation. They're able to really just take someone down pretty quickly, and I feel like Arms Warrior fits into this comp that's really popular, and I'll talk about that in just a second. So yeah, overall, Arms Warrior definitely up there. They did, however, just get nerfed, which might make them fall out of the meta within the next month or so. They're not falling out right now, even after the nerf, but they might get nerfed again in their damage, which is typical for what Blizzard does. But they got nerfed on their duel and their disarm, so their peel abilities, they're more utility type of stuff. Disarm makes it so that obviously people like melee classes, including Holy Paladins that are playing Avenging Crusader. Avenging Crusader means that you have to, it's also called melee wings, it means you have to melee people to heal, and if you disarm Avenging Crusader, it makes it so that the Holy Paladin actually can't heal at all for like a few seconds, which is really good. And they also nerfed Duel, so Duel makes it so that if you attack anything but the warrior, you deal less damage for a certain amount of time. It's just like a debuff. They nerfed both of those abilities by some like cooldown duration. So I think it went from like 30 or 45 seconds to like a minute cooldown. So pretty big nerf. I would see Arms Warrior probably falling out of the meta within about a month and a half from now, whenever they most likely get nerfed on a little bit of damage. That's just how I foresee it happening. But I want to jump into the second class, and that's actually going to be mages. This is the class that I play mainly. I'm not being biased with this. This is actually a class that I'm seeing in the game so much right now, and it's not Frost, which is sad because I've dumped all my artifact power into Frost. I love the Frost spec, and it also makes my transmog look really good because of the staff. But it's actually going to be the Fire and the Arcane specs. I see a lot of Fire mages right now. Fire is based on instant cast damage. They pair really well with Arms Warrior because they are so consistent, and they don't take a whole lot of offensive cooldowns in order to be able to kill a target. Meteor's on a 45-second cooldown, and that lines up with Stormbolt and Sharpened Blade. Phoenix's Flames and Fire Blast allow for Pyroblast chains, and that's on a pretty short cooldown. So that and having the Dragon's Breath ability in Fire spec really makes it so that it's very hard to kill them, along with the Cauterizing Blink heal and also the higher stat template that Fire Mage has available. Like Fire Mage in PvP combat, in PvP instances, has more health than a Frost Mage does. Frost Mage has much less health, and they also have a lot less utility since they don't have Dragon's Breath and they don't have Cauterizing Blink. They're not able to really survive as much as the Fire Mage. So definitely an advantage there. And then I'm also seeing a lot of Arcane Mage. I personally am really enjoying Arcane Mage. I love that Arcane is actually viable in PvP for like the first time I've ever seen in any expansion. It was used a little bit at the end of Warlords of Draenor, but I haven't seen it a whole lot. But now I'm seeing Arcane Mage so persistently, and I'm actually enjoying the spec myself. I'm playing it most of the time, and since I can't play Frost a whole lot right now with an Arms Warrior, I'm playing Arcane Arms Warrior, which is really fun because Arcane is very inconsistent, has a lot of burst damage, pretty short cooldowns, and has a ton of mobility and a ton of CC available to them, which is really cool. So I definitely enjoy Arcane Mage, and I see so many Arcane Mages and so many Fire Mages, more so Fire Mages in the current meta, just because of how well they pair with Arms Warriors and also how consistent they are and pretty much hard to kill. Like, honestly, Arcane and Fire are both pretty hard to kill because Arcane is so mobile. And that brings me to my last class, which is completely different from the Arms Warrior and Mage combo, which I'm seeing so much of right now in Arena. And that's actually going to be the Shadow Priest. So Shadow Priests have... I'm actually not sure what it is. They really didn't get huge buffs or anything like that. But the way that Shadow Priest is playing right now, which is very odd, maybe this is just the difference in like the way that health and all that was changed with the artifact power and all that. But Shadow Priests are doing a ridiculous amount of damage right now. In fact, actually, look at this recount. So this recount is from my 2200, 2300 MMR RBG I did earlier. And this is the Shadow Priest damage, so 640k throughout the entire RBG, and then here's like my damage, right? So, obviously this isn't like the hugest sample size, but I definitely like see Shadow Priest so relevant in Arena. You see Shadow Priest pretty much being in like every comp that's not Arms Warrior and Mage, because Shadow Priest offer a huge amount of AoE dot pressure. They offer great utility with their healing and their 1.5 minute Vampiric Embrace, which allows them to do healing through their damage output, which is huge. They have a great execute type of playstyle design, with their Twist of Fate offering a ton more damage, and then also Shadow Word Death and all that stuff. So they have huge utility. They have pretty good instant CC with their silences and their Mind Bobs or Fear. And I really see a lot of Shadow Priests. I fought double Shadow Priests on a regular basis, and it's actually very hard to kill because of how much healing they're able to get out, and also how much damage, and also how much silences. It's really crazy. You can pretty much pair any class with a Shadow Priest right now, and they're going to do pretty decently well. The counter to Shadow Priest, though, is actually Warrior and Fire Mage or Arcane Mage. So it's like a pretty nice balance. If you don't play those two comps, you're probably playing at high ratings. You're probably playing like Hunter plus Feral, or Hunter plus Rogue, or Hunter plus Ret maybe. But like Hunter is pretty much the counter to like Mage, and then sometimes Shadow Priest, and then also like Mage and Arms Warrior counters Shadow Priest, and then Shadow Priest and X class counters everything else. So it's really an interesting meta right now. But I do like that there's a lot of people trying out new things. I love playing against new things, and it's nice, honestly, to see the Demo Lock being phased out of the current meta, because it's impossible to kill Demo Locks, and that's really kind of boring to me. So with all that being said, I do want to jump into the last class of this video, and that's going to be the Restoration Druid, which is the healer of choice. Now, this is very close because I play with a Holy Paladin mainly. However, I feel that Restoration Druid offers a little bit more than Holy Paladin can do. So with Holy Paladin, they play with melee wings, right? And this is why I feel like they're second. They're second. They're not quite as tall as the Restoration Druid right now. Holy Paladins are great with melee wings. They offer a lot of extra DPS. They can pull upwards of 100 to 120k DPS in Arena with their melee wings, which is really useful for when you're bursting a target down. And they also have the Hammer of Justice. They have pretty high healing whenever melee wings is up. But when melee wings is down, which is pretty normal, pretty much every Holy Paladin plays with melee wings talent spec in Arena right now. And whenever melee wings isn't available, I feel like they die very quickly. And that's why when I look at Restoration Druid, like there's really not a huge point in the game where Restoration Druids are extremely vulnerable. Restoration Druids, like they need to really mess up in order to be vulnerable to die. And I think that that's interesting because they have Overgrowth, they have Iron Bark, and they have Bark Skin, and all of that's on such a low cooldown. And then they also have Bear Form on top of that, which is ridiculously strong right now. Bear Form pretty much makes it nearly impossible for anybody to kill the Restoration Druid, which Holy Paladin has a very clear weakness and can die pretty regularly in Arena. But I feel like Restoration Druid does all of that offensive stun capability with Bash, and also having Cyclone, that is just a tier above the Holy Paladin. And also Restoration Druids have a really hard time running out of mana, whereas every other healer right now does run out of mana very quickly. So it's interesting to see all of these changes right now. I feel like the meta is shifting pretty regularly, which I think is probably healthy for the game. But I did want to shed some light on these classes for you guys. I feel like this meta is pretty straightforward. Arms Warrior, Shadow Priest, Mage, or Hunter is what I'm seeing mainly, or Feral. And I'm sure that will shift a little bit more. I feel like probably Demon Hunters will come up pretty soon, and I also think that the Unholy Death Knight is very strong right now. So I'm going to definitely keep an eye on it. I'm going to keep you guys updated, but if you enjoyed this video, again, leave a comment down below telling me you want to see more of this. And also a like on this video. Let's get to 500 likes for this video, and I will continue the series as promised. And you can also subscribe to my YouTube channel if you'd like to keep updated with the series. So thank you so much for watching, guys, and I will see you all tomorrow for another video. Thanks.